Bonjour à toutes et tous. Alors, je vais commencer par faire un petit tour de table pour vous présenter toutes les personnes qui sont autour de cette table, face à vous. Donc, à côté de moi, Chérienne Dabis, qui est actrice mais aussi réalisatrice, qui joue le rôle de Roula. Amro Akkad, qu'on peut voir d'ailleurs à ce festival de Cannes dans un autre film qui s'appelle Urchin, Un certain regard, qui joue le rôle de l'inquiétant docteur Mansour. À côté de lui, Lina Koudry, que vous connaissez tous, j'imagine. On se souvient évidemment d'elle, la révélation de Papicha, et depuis une filmographie assez extraordinaire, avec notamment Les Trois Mousquetaires. À côté d'elle, Tarik Saleh, le réalisateur fêté de Le Caire confidentiel et La conspiration du Caire, notamment. Gros succès internationaux. À côté de lui, son acteur qui joue dans tous ses longs métrages, Fares, qui joue le rôle évidemment de Georges Fahmy, le pharaon du cinéma égyptien. À côté de lui, Zineb Triki, qui est actrice qui joue le rôle de Suzanne, qu'on a vu dans de nombreux films, mais aussi français, y compris, et téléfilms et séries. Alexandre Desplat, évidemment, qu'on ne présente plus, qui est qui pourrait avoir une résidence permanente au Festival de Cannes. Ahmed Kairi, acteur qui joue le rôle de Fauzi, et puis tout à fait au bout, Naël Ali, qui a déjà joué dans au moins un autre film de Tarik Saleh. Alors, ceux qui ont des questions à poser, déjà, je vous demande de lever la main. Il y en a une ici, on vous donne le micro. Levez-vous, s'il vous plaît, et présentez-vous.
Oui, bonjour, Gérard Chargé, Cinézoom. Moi, je tiens à vous féliciter. Alors, c'est le troisième volet de votre trilogie. Donc, moi, j'aimerais savoir si, dans votre pays, des choses comme ça, en rapport avec le cinéma et la culture, est-ce que c'est par rapport à ça que vous avez voulu raconter cette histoire? Parce que c'est vrai que les pays qui imposent des choses, les cinémas d'État, c'est quand même voilà, la difficulté parfois quand on est dans certains pays. Et j'ai une question pour Lina. Cette aventure sur ce film-là, comment vous l'avez vécu et est-ce que pour vous c'est un grand honneur de pouvoir aller tourner dans un tel film? Merci.
Alors, Tarik.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, the Egyptian cinema is one of the greatest legacy of cinema. At one point, Egypt was the third biggest nation of making films. And I love Egyptian cinema. But it has always also had a very complicated relationship to power. And it's not only in Egypt that's a problem, you know. We all struggle with, because it's very expensive to make films. So we always have to be careful, you could say, with the power. But in Egypt in particular, because 1/3 of the economy is run by the army, you have to be especially careful. And so the Egyptian film industry is right now controlled by a company called The United, which is owned by the army. So yes, this film is not a satire, unfortunately.
Lina.
Oui, je te réponds en français. Je vous réponds en français.
Oui.
Ok. Non, c'était évidemment un honneur et un vrai plaisir de travailler avec ce monsieur qui est à côté de moi, qui est quand même, on peut le dire, un génie. En fait, c'est l'adjectif que j'entends depuis quelques temps à propos de Tarik, et je confirme. Je confirme parce qu'il nous embarque dans une aventure assez incroyable. Nous permet de nous exprimer de manière très originale, en tout cas pour mon personnage. Et il m'emmène à des endroits de jeu. C'est autant un plaisir en tant qu'actrice qu'en tant que personne. de travailler avec lui. Donc voilà, je vous vois plus, monsieur, mais
Oh, merci.
non, c'est normal. C'est vrai surtout.
Hi. Hello. Yes. Hi. My name is Marcus. I'm from Sweden, from One Press TV. Thank you for a great movie yesterday. It was not good. It was a very good movie. And yeah, I want to start off with Tarik Saleh. What was your feeling after last night seeing the movie with the audience? And Fares, Tarik used to say with smile on his face that you always need to say yes to his movies. So how did it go down this time?
So how it felt yesterday, it felt really good. And I can warmly recommend to have your films in Cannes.
And shortly, yes.
Fares, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire quel genre de directeur d'acteur est Tarik Saleh? Comment est-ce qu'il travaille avec vous? Est-ce que vous discutez énormément du personnage? Comment est-ce que...
Yes, we do. We do. We talk a lot about the character. We talk a lot about the script. It's all... most of it is worked out before we start shooting, actually, because we start so early, me and Tarik, with the script and talking about the world, the character, not just my character, every character in the film, also the casting, like everything. So everything is kind of like planned out before we start. So when we film, it's just about, we know what we want.
It's rehearsed, you mean?
Not rehearsed, talked about. A lot, so we know what we want. So we just kind of like together try to do, you know, his vision mostly, you know, because it's his film. But and also we were super close friends, so there are no like we don't need any filters or anything. It's like we're super honest with each other, and you know, don't do it like that, do it like that. Try this and try that. You know, there's, and also like with Tarik, there was one scene at the end where we had a camera filming me, and then the camera panned outside the car, and we did 2 or 3 takes, and then I walked up to Tarik, I said, keep the camera on me this time. And he wouldn't be like, no, why, we have it, or whatever. It's like, okay, and we do another take and we keep the camera on fire. And that's the one take that's actually used in the film. So this is the kind of language that we have. It's super great. It's amazing. It's the best.
Bonjour, dear ladies and gentlemen. You are so stylish. I'm so inspired. It's so cool. I wish you a big profit after the premiere, after the film festival begins.
Thank you.
I'm from Ukraine, Viva Magazine, and I want to ask you, Fares, about Ukrainian kino lovers. You became known after Mysterium in our country, and maybe all
After what?
Mysterium.
Ah, it's the Danish films?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's called Mysterium. Cool.
Intuitively, we all felt that you strong believers and fight for your beliefs. And how in this movie, when system hunted for you, not you, made them feel all right, but opposite way. How it was, and please tell us.
How it works with, sorry.
When you're not hunting such a bad person, when somebody hunting you, like when you politically and, how to say?
How does it feel to do this character that's stuck in the middle in this system?
Yes.
I mean, the character it's an amazing character. It has so many layers, and there are so much things. And the challenging part with the character in the beginning was to make this guy likable, because he does so many bad things to the people closest to him, and he lies to everyone. But he has his art, and he believes in it, and he gets forced to make this film, and the only thing he can do is actually start to protect the work, protect the film that he gets forced to do. So you want to do it the best way he ever can. then his narcissism takes over. And he makes some, I don't know, just bold moves, let's say.
Don't judge
with
your
the wrong
character.
people.
Don't judge your character.
Yeah, but it's great. I hope that was good answer enough for you. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde, Nicolas Coll. Bravo à toute l'équipe. Je ne suis pas très original, mais voilà, tout le monde le pense, donc c'est un très beau film. C'est un film qui parle de cinéma, un film de cinéma, qui respire le cinéma en termes de photographie, en termes de couleurs, en termes de décors, même en termes de musique. Donc Tarik, est-ce que vous pouvez nous parler de votre collaboration avec votre chef opérateur, avec votre chef décorateur, et peut-être même avec votre compositeur qui peut aussi témoigner, puisque Alexandre est avec nous. Merci beaucoup.
Yes, thanks for that question. My team that I work with is the best. And as a director, you are like a football coach, and you try to get the best players, you know, on your team. And I am exceptionally fortunate to have these exceptional players. So, for example, it starts always with my production designer, Roger Rosenberg, who I've done all the films with. And he makes like a Bible or Quran, depending on what religion you aspire to, that is about 400 pages, with every detail of the film, every detail, pens, papers, every single detail, and we discuss every page. And then I would like to also, Pierre Aim, who is very close to me, of course, my DP. He is, and on this film we shot on 65. I always challenge him, because in Caro Conspiracy we only work with one lens, with the 40mm anamorphic lens. And he was very frustrated with that. And you know, Pierre Aim, if you know him, he hates the zoom. So I called him for this film and I said, we're going to shoot it with a zoom. And he was like, no, please, you know. But it's very good with a master, an old master, to give that kind of restriction. And I also want to mention my editor, Thijs Schmidt, who I also have a very close collaboration with. And I talk to him every day, even when we don't work, because you have to maintain the friendship and the closeness, because it's such an intimate thing when you edit a film. You are very naked. And Alexandre Desplat, just before I leave the mic to him, it was very embarrassing for me because I had temp scored with his music throughout my career. And so I asked my French producer, Alexandre, I said, you know, do you think it would be possible to see if Alexandre Desplat? I was like, it's almost like I didn't want to ask, and then it was like, of course, I mean, we can always ask, you know. And then me and Alexandre met in Paris, and right away when we met, I knew that it felt like I met sort of a brother, you know, that my father had an affair with a woman in France, and that I had a brother I didn't know. No, and I will always remember his first words after I had seen the film to me, because I was in a hotel room in Gothenburg. It was the same weather as here. The difference is it's always that weather in Gothenburg. But, and Alexander said to me, I know I saw the film, and it's about a man who sells his soul piece by piece. And I could not wait to hear him make the music for that character, how it feels. So I'm very grateful for that. Yes.
Tarik, you mentioned, I'm sorry, here. You mentioned production design. May I ask, where did you shoot the film?
And thank you. Oh, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
With an amazing team in Istanbul, Turkey. And we have worked with the same team in Caro Conspiracy. And it's absolutely wonderful to work in Turkey, because the film workers in Turkey are some of the best in the world. We know that from Nuri Ceylan's films, and It's a real artistry, and they are very, they have a lot of integrity, live under similar circumstances as Egyptians, but they actually stand up to the tyrant.
Il y a une question. Quelqu'un?
Je peux juste ajouter
Oui.
quelque chose sur la musique.
Oui, pardon, Alexandre.
Non, juste pour amplifier ce que disait Tarik sur le personnage de Fares. Maybe in English, yeah. Just to add to what Tarik was saying about Fares' character, George Fahmy. The temptation when you see a movie like this one is to follow the mystery, the action, what's on screen, but actually it's already on screen. And all the journey we chose to follow with Tarik was to not show what is on screen, but add something that would amplify the character's torments.
For instance, can you tell us an example of it?
Well, there's no music when there's killing or danger. There's
no action music?
No, there's no action music, never. There's not one moment of action. There can be tension somehow, but it's mostly the complexity. As you mentioned, Fares, the many layers of the character. We have in the instrumentation. There's a very low drum, but there's flutes doing some kind of little clouds up there. So it gives an ambitus of sensation that leaves the audience free to decide what to think, and also follows the character's journey through the film.
Were you influenced by Egyptian music?
Not literally, but I've been raised with a father who listened to Egyptian, and that's something we share with Tarik. My father had been to Cairo many times because he was traveling with TWA, and we had records at home that he would play from Kulthum and Farid El Atrash, and so it's part of my DNA somewhere.
Hello, I'm Shan from Taiwan for Crossing, and I also had a question for Alexandre Desplat about the music aspect. So specifically in this film, there are lots of elements of like Arabic elements, and also even the Arabic vocal in the music. So I was wondering, how did you get these elements from, and are these part of Tarik's discussion with you on how to do the music this way?
Well, unfortunately, I'm glad you heard that, but it's not my music. It's the existing music that Tarik used, which has this Oriental element. It's not in the score that I wrote. I avoided that on purpose to not have any, not mention any Oriental or Egyptian kind of music. So it's the existing pieces that you heard that have that vocal and this kind of Egyptian feel. And I love Taiwan, by the way.
Yes, and can I just comment on that? Because I think it's very interesting that you picked that up, because we had a discussion very early on, me and Alexander, about the score. Because for it, a lot of times, in American films, when they take place in Egypt or in the Middle East, there is this Oriental music that is supposed to give this vibe of danger, oh my God, it's like if you're in a Ridley Scott film and you hear the call for prayer and this Oriental music, something bad is going to happen, But music is universal, and the sensibility, the kind of legacy, and because Alexander is a flutist, and I love the flute. I believe that every person has an instrument that sort of speaks to them, and for me, it's the flute. So it was incredible. One of my best experiences throughout this whole thing was when we were in Paris and Alexander was playing the flute. I pretended he was playing for me, personally.
I have my flute here.
Hello, Diane Carson, Alliance for Women Film Journalists. I also had a question for Mr. Desplat about how early do you want to enter into the composition process? How often do you change it? And how do you also layer it with the sound effects so that nothing becomes overbearing? And perhaps the pas de deux that the two of you do to work this out.
I tend to, of course, read the script to know if I would like the subject. And usually I'm working on another project, so my brain is, gently working, in the background. But it's when I see the film that I can really start, because I need to know where is the camera, what are the movements, what the actors look like, how fast they talk or how slow they talk, what is their voice range. So from then I can really discuss with the director and start thinking what is the rhythm of the film and how I can find my way through that. Regarding the, what was the other question? The layering of sound effects. Yeah, sound effects, who cares about that? When I receive the film, I hear the sound. It's in the film. It's a version that I have. Of course, it's not completed, but I know, I can hear somehow a rough assembly of what the sound will be. So I choose my battles. I leave place for what I think is important in the soundtrack, and I take my place when the music I think should be shining. And I've also listened to the actors and try and match my action there. The more I work in writing music for films, the more I feel like an actor being with them, like if I was entering on the set that is already completed, but I feel that I'm playing with them, acting with them, but it's just that my voice is instrumentation instead of words.
Alors, une question.
Bonjour, Joël Barcy du journal en ligne d'estimate.fr. Une question pour Tarik ou Fares. C'est une vision quand même assez sombre de l'être humain. On s'aperçoit que finalement, des convictions sont assez vite balayées dès lors qu'on a des avantages, des privilèges.
I'm a huge optimist, and it's very rare in this time and this world that people are optimists. You look around and you wouldn't think that there's much things to be hopeful about. But I actually really believe in the future. And I have some reasons for that. First of all, I believe in cinema, and I think that it's important to say that today, like that, people have declared the death of cinema for the last 100 years, as long as cinema have existed, But I always want to remind people, when television came, it's the death of cinema. Now television doesn't exist, all right? DVD, VHS, Blu-ray, and now streaming. I think cinema is very resilient as an art form. And I think it's because cinema is an act of empathy. For 2 hours, you are someone else. You live someone else's life. And you have to identify with that person, even if that person commits acts that you wouldn't commit. And in that, there is beauty. And the other reason why I'm an optimist is because I'm the father of 4 daughters, And when I see young women today, I'm like, these old guys that are running the world right now, and we all know their names and how they're destroying this world. But, they are very old and they will die. We all will die. And then they will take over and it will be a much better world. And I can promise you that. So that's basically the reason to be an optimist. Now, you don't see that in my cinema. I agree with that. But, I'm also, as a lover of cinema, and because the best genre in film, and everyone knows this, that knows cinema, is film noir, all right? There is no better genre than that. And in a film noir, there is just one rule, that the protagonist is his own worst enemy, because it's an existential genre. That's how it has to be. Yep.
Alors, je voudrais maintenant profiter un petit peu de toutes les personnes qui sont autour de cette table pour leur donner la parole une à une. Je vais commencer donc par ma voisine, Cherian Dabis. How did you approach your character, who is herself an actress, and you as a director? How does it feel to be directed by another director?
Well, it feels amazing to be directed by another director, especially one as brilliant as Thought It. It was very easy to trust his vision because I was a huge fan of his work before I even came on board this film. And as a director, I really relish the opportunity to give up control and to really immerse myself and lose myself in a character. And I found, like all brilliant directors, Thought It comes with strong ideas, but is very open at the same time. So it was a really wonderful collaboration to be able to create this character with him.
And to play an actress?
Yes, that was really fun. I grew up watching and loving Egyptian films. And my father's Palestinian, but he actually went to school in Egypt and adopted Egypt as his kind of second nationality. So I really love Egyptian cinema and grew up with this pride of, Egypt being the Hollywood of the Middle East in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So to get to play an Egyptian movie star, my older sister's named after an Egyptian movie star, Fatin Hamama. Wow. So it was really exciting, and my family was also excited by that.
Amr Waked. Alors, on a dit à quel point le héros du film était quelqu'un de complexe, de menteur, etc. Mais vous êtes le méchant, mais on a l'impression que vous êtes la personne peut-être la plus sincère de tout le film. Qu'est-ce que ça fait de jouer un méchant dans ce film?
Well, alors je crois pas. Can I speak in English so that everybody understands? I don't think it was a villain. He's not a villain, really. He's a different type of character. I don't think he's, either good or bad. He's just a guy that saves or keeps the equilibrium of the system intact. And to be able to do that, he has to do a lot of bad things. They seem bad, but in his own world, he's actually saving the system. He's actually doing his job the way he's supposed to be doing it. So he did not really, there's a very good shot that I'm very happy that Tarik kept, which is when he was listening to the killing of the character Shireen was playing. He couldn't take it, and he took off the thing. So that is a sign that there is a depth of humanity to this character, but this depth is probably not very evident because we all hate the system and we think the entire system is evil, but he does not want to hurt anybody. He'd rather not, but if you threaten his territory, he will start being very vicious.
And I think he would be a quite good film director because he knows to direct actors, when they overplay or underplay.
And he sat there and he listened to everything. And I think it's a very, very cinematic character. The character that sits and listens to things and watches everybody and knows everything, but you don't know anything about him. So it's kind of, a two-way street. And I'm very, very happy I had this is the first kind of character I play like this. And I'm very happy I did.
Lina, on vous a déjà entendu, mais vous pouvez nous dire exactement ce que ça a fait aussi de jouer une jeune actrice et quelle est votre approche de ce personnage un petit peu ambigu, on va dire.
C'était très drôle de jouer...
Plus près du micro.
Pardon, vous m'entendez? Oui, je disais, c'était très drôle de jouer une actrice qui ne savait pas jouer. Donc il fallait C'était très... Et donc, je m'amusais beaucoup à l'écoute de mes phrases, de me dire, est-ce que ça sonne juste? Il faut pas que ça sonne juste, il faut que ça sonne faux. Donc, on s'est amusé quand même avec Tarik, et elle est très touchante. Et elle est très, très touchante. Finalement, j'ai eu beaucoup d'empathie pour ce personnage. Tout ce qu'elle raconte d'elle dans ce film, et tout ce que ça raconte aussi de la société, que ce soit en Égypte ou ailleurs d'ailleurs. J'ai beaucoup, beaucoup aimé ce personnage. C'était vraiment un cadeau de la part de Tarik.
Zineb Triki, quelques mots sur le personnage de Suzanne, notamment à partir de cette extraordinaire scène de dîner où elle remet tout le monde à sa place. Et puis ensuite, c'est l'histoire qu'elle a avec le personnage de Georges Famy. Comment est-ce que vous définiriez votre personnage?
C'est une personne qui... Merci. Je suis un peu novice. C'est une... Comment dirais-je? C'est la question pour moi la concernant, c'est... Wow,
non, c'est bien. Oui.
Comment on fait quand on est, je sais pas, en mode survie, en fait, en réalité? Pour moi, c'est ça. Et comment trouver une certaine liberté individuelle dans un environnement qui est oppressant. Et je crois le fait qu'elle assume son désir, c'est sa manière d'être rebelle et de résister. Et donc il y a cette complexité entre être là où elle est, dans cet environnement, et il y a aussi quand même un désir d'authenticité. Quelque chose en elle qui ne plie pas. Et je me souviens plus de votre question.
Non, c'était ça, c'était sur le personnage. Et votre travail avec Tarik Saleh, alors, quel genre de directeur d'acteur est-il pour vous?
Mais Tarik, il permet, il vous laisse tout en, je sais pas comment il fait, tout en vous dirigeant. Mais je l'ai jamais entendu dire non, c'est pas non. Il laisse. Après, on a parlé du personnage beaucoup. Et moi, ce qui m'intéresse souvent, c'est de voir l'inconscient et de travailler en fait, en réalité, ce qu'on ne voit pas à l'image, parce que je trouve que c'est comme ça que ce qui est vu prend une certaine, en tous les cas, je l'espère, profondeur ou questionnement, et donc de pas être tout de suite dans un jugement facile. Et évidemment, en tant que spectateur, on est toujours comme dans la vie, hein, on peut très vite juger, c'est très facile. Mais de se poser la question et de se dire, en fait, c'est pas si évident que ça. Et d'éviter cet écueil de toujours se dire, moi, je suis à la bonne place et j'aurais mieux fait. En fait, on ne sait pas, tant qu'on n'est pas dans la situation. Et non, mais c'est un bonheur, c'est tellement complexe et brillant, et ça donne envie d'aller en profondeur et de poser des questions. Moi, c'est ça qui m'intéresse, c'est pas de ramener un personnage comme ça, clair, qui est du bon, du mauvais côté. Je ne pense pas que ce soit comme ça, comme dans la vie d'ailleurs.
Alors, Ahmed, oui.
Ton personnage, je crois, c'est que le personnage que Tarik t'a offert, c'est un personnage qui allie une grande culture, une grande beauté, dans un monde d'hommes absolument infect, et dont tu arrives, enfin, dont tu tentes de t'échapper. Et tu vis avec ce monde, mais tu tentes de t'en échapper. Je pense que ça qui est très beau aussi.
Oui, elle m'a fait penser, je ne sais pas si c'est Lilith, mais ce mythe un peu de cette... parce que c'est une force un peu disruptive dans le dîner. And you know, like she comes at dinner and then she just disrupts some things. Oh, yes. You know, she's invited, but there's something her as a woman that's not allowed, and this is when she just go, okay, so I'm just gonna tell you what's going on here with you guys. But yeah.
I mean, one detail, of course, you know, people know Egyptian history, know that Hosni Mubarak was married to a woman called Susan Mubarak. And Susan Mubarak was a very intelligent woman, very, very intelligent woman, much more intelligent than her husband, you know? As usual, as we all have experienced at home. And but she was educated at the same school as our Susan, and she was very cultivated, and she changed Egypt, you know? in many ways. I think to the better. She was one of the persons who made Al-Azhar make a fatwa against female circumcision, you know? So even if she was part of an oppressive system, she also changed Egypt and probably saved a lot of women from a lot of pain, you know?
Je voudrais laisser la parole maintenant à nos deux derniers invités, our last two guests. Ahmed, how did you approach your character? Is very likable and pragmatic, and he ends up being a victim. How did you?
When we first talk, me and Tarik, about the character, I think Fawzi is representing the ugly face of the industry.
Yeah.
Sometimes he doesn't care about art, but he had to give his client, you know, a commercial, anything to for money. And
but he's good at his job.
Yeah, he's good at it. And he has this humanity side, and the way he loves George. That's what I think this is the point for Fawzi. He loves George, his special client, especially his Fir'aun al-Shasha. He's the biggest star. So that was when we talked, me and Tarik, about the character. That was the point. He loves George Fahmy.
I must add something about Khairi, that I wouldn't have been able to do any of the films without him. Oh. He is not just a fellow actor, he also is a dialect coach, and in some ways an acting coach. And I worked with him on the Nile Hilton incident for some time before we started shooting, and then he was with me on set every day for the whole shoot. And also, unfortunately, you couldn't do the whole Boy from Heaven, but you did the ADR part of it. And on this project, he was there. We worked a lot before, during the shoot, every day. And I was very serious about the Egyptian accent, so I was like working after shooting every evening. And we filmed like 6 days a week. We had 1 day off. Everyone except for Khairi, because I told him, you have to come to the hotel. We're going to work on Sundays as well. So he's there the whole time. So I'm really glad that we met. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I have a last question for Nael, who hasn't talked so far. Was the character that you played inspired by things that you had seen on TV or a real character?
I don't love to talk about my character. I would like people to talk about the character from what they have seen. Because, first of all, I want to thank Tarik and the whole crew for helping me during the shots or during the filmmaking, that I have tried to done the character as good as the Tarik see it in his mind. But about Al Ghul, he is a human being, and he had a lot of dreams, but he is trying to connect to his target, or by different ways, using his wife, using his anything around him. It was very difficult. I didn't know. I don't know until now how I did it. You can tell me. You can give me your opinion.
You did well.
I'm waiting for that.
Tarik, was his character inspired by a real character?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. No, so
I think this is one of the most honest movies about the true Egypt that is currently available on this planet. I think I've never seen a film that is very deeply educated in what Egypt is, and I think it's it's not just a good film, it's a film that opens doors, that raises the bar for the entire industry that speaks Arabic to get some courage and possibly go down that path stronger than before. So it's a film that is honest, and it is a film that opens doors for others.
And I'll just add one other thing on the heels of that, because, you know, what happens to my character in the film, I think, is not so exciting. But I think that one of the things I really loved about this character when I read the script is that she really symbolizes what happens to people in our world right now, what happens to people who hold on to their integrity and who are not willing to sacrifice their values. And I think the film is so poignant right now in our world because so many of us are struggling with issues of freedom of speech and just being, you know, being who we are. And not just in the countries where we come from.
Absolutely not. We all struggle with this. And I think that I just want to add that about Al Ghul, that of course I'm a nerd, so I am very sort of intrigued by the intrigues in the Egyptian army and all the different generals, and they're all very vain, you know, and because they have this thing that they are running businesses, you know. The Egyptian army is doing so much. It's not just the film industry. They are also into agriculture. For example, if you buy a sweet potato in Sweden, it's actually the Egyptian army who owns that company. And they also make shoes, not great shoes. Biscuits. And biscuits, yeah, biscuits. They do everything. They are, you know. So you imagine that all these generals running these different companies, getting rich, they hate each other, you know. They intrigue with each other. And of course, their big boss, El-Sisi, they are always like, oh, you know, and some of them are like, why am I not the boss, you know? So it was there was a lot of nice generals to pick, to model after this guy. And one thing I like, one other inspiration was actually Cartman from from South Park.
Merci beaucoup à tous. Cette conférence est terminée. Bravo encore.